You're 40. And you thought by now, you'd have it figured out. You thought there'd be savings. A plan. Maybe a house. At least some kind of cushion. But instead, you're staring at your bank account at 11 p.m., and the number you see makes your stomach drop. This isn't where you thought you'd be. And the worst part? You don't even know exactly how you got here. I'm going to talk about this today because nobody does. People talk about being broke at 22. That's almost expected. Almost cute. But being broke at 40? That one carries weight. That one carries shame. And if you're sitting there right now feeling that, I want you to know something first. You are not alone. And you are not a failure. But we do need to talk about what's actually going on. Let's start with the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Most Americans hitting 40 right now were set up to struggle financially. They graduated into debt. They entered a job market that underpaid them for years. They were told to spend to live the life they deserved. Credit cards. Car payments. Buy now, pay later. Subscribe to this. Upgrade that. The system was not built for you to win. It was built for you to spend. And now here you are, 40, working hard, doing everything you were supposed to do, and somehow still running on empty. That is not a personal failure. That is a structural problem that hit millions of people. But here's what matters now: you still have time. And that's not just something I'm saying to make you feel better. That's math. Let me paint two pictures for you. Picture 1. You're 40, broke, and you do nothing different. You tell yourself next month will be better. You put off looking at your finances because it gives you anxiety. You keep the same habits, the same patterns, the same avoidance. At 50, you're in the same place. Maybe worse. Picture 2. You're 40, broke, and you make one decision today. Just one. You decide to get honest about where you are and take one real step forward. At 50, your life looks completely different. The gap between those two people isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's just that one of them started. Now let's get into what actually got most people here, because understanding this matters. Lifestyle creep. This is the silent killer of bank accounts. Every time you made more money, your expenses went up to match it. New job, new car. Promotion, nicer apartment. Bonus, vacation. You kept earning more. But you never actually got ahead because spending grew with every raise. Most people don't even realize this happened. They just know they make decent money and have nothing to show for it. No financial education. Nobody taught you this stuff. Not in school. Not at home, probably. You figured out how to do your job, raise your kids, hold your life together. But personal finance? That was just supposed to click on its own somehow. It didn't. And that's not your fault. But it is your responsibility now. Emergencies wiped you out. You were doing okay. Not great, but okay. And then something hit. Medical bill. Car breakdown. Job loss. Divorce. Family crisis. And whatever small buffer you had, gone. And rebuilding after that is brutally hard when you're already stretched thin. You were carrying other people. Some of you reading this have been supporting parents, siblings, kids, partners, exes. You gave when you didn't have it to give because that's who you are. That's love. But it also emptied you out. Okay. So what do you actually do now? I'm not going to give you some flashy, get rich quick list. I'm going to give you the real stuff. Step 1. Stop lying to yourself about the numbers. I know it's scary. I know looking at your bank account and your debt feels like staring into a pit. But you cannot fix what you refuse to see. So today, not tomorrow, today, you sit down and write out the real numbers. Income. Expenses. Debt. Everything. No judgment. Just facts. Because once you see it clearly, it stops being this terrifying monster in your head and becomes a problem. And problems have solutions. Step 2. Find the bleeding. Once you see your numbers, something will jump out. There's always something. A subscription you forgot about. Eating out more than you realized. A bill that never got renegotiated. Something. You're not trying to eliminate joy from your life. You're trying to stop the money from disappearing without you noticing. Plug the leaks first. Then rebuild. Step 3. Build a baby emergency fund. Fast. Before you pay off debt aggressively, before you invest, before anything else, get $1,000 set aside somewhere you won't touch it. That's it. Just $1,000. Because the reason most people can't get ahead is that every time they make progress, an emergency destroys it. That small cushion changes everything. It stops the cycle. Step 4. Attack your highest interest debt. Once you have that cushion, put every extra dollar toward the debt costing you the most. Usually that's credit cards at 20 to 29% interest. You cannot outearn 25% interest. It will eat everything you make. Kill the expensive debt first. Not the biggest balance. The most expensive one. Step 5. Create one new income stream. At 40, you have something you didn't have at 22. You have skills, experience, a network, a reputation. Use it. That could mean freelancing in your field, consulting, teaching something online, selling something, picking up one flexible gig that fits your schedule. Even $500 extra a month changes the math dramatically. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Find the practical one. Let me talk about the emotional side of this for a second. Being broke at 40 does something to you psychologically that being broke at 25 doesn't. At 25, you have excuses, time, potential. At 40, it feels like evidence. Evidence that you're behind. That you failed. That everyone else figured it out except you. And that feeling, that shame, makes the whole thing worse. Because shame makes you avoid. And avoidance makes the problem grow. So let me say this clearly. Your bank account balance is not your worth. It is not a verdict on your life. It is a number that can change. The people who recover financially from rock bottom at 40, and I've seen it happen, they all have one thing in common. They stopped being ashamed of where they were and started being honest about it. Shame keeps you stuck. Honesty moves you. I also want to talk about the comparison trap. You're on social media watching people your age who seem to have it together. Nice house. Vacations. New car. Invested in real estate at 38. Energy. Stop comparing yourself to that. You don't know their debt. You don't know what their marriage looks like. You don't know what they inherited or borrowed or are quietly drowning in. You only see the version they chose to post. Your race is yours. Your timeline is yours. The only question that matters is, are you moving forward? Here's what I want you to take from this. 40 is not the end of your financial story. It is actually a turning point, if you let it be. You have more self-awareness now than you did at 25. You know what you value. You know what doesn't matter. You know what you actually need versus what you were just chasing. That clarity is an asset. Use it. The people who have the most powerful financial turnarounds? They often start later than they think they should have. Because later comes with wisdom. You're not too late. You're just starting. If you got something from this today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The 40-year-old in your life who's quietly struggling. The friend who never talks about money but you know something's off. Sometimes the most powerful thing is just knowing someone else is in it too. And if you're in it right now, you've got this. Start today. One honest look at the numbers. One step. That's all it takes to change the direction. Here's the full continuation, picking up right where we left off. Let's talk about the question I get more than any other from people in this situation. Is it too late to invest? I hear this all the time. Someone hits 40 with nothing saved for retirement, and they feel like the window is closed. Like they missed the boat entirely, and now they're just supposed to accept whatever scraps Social Security throws at them someday. No. That is not the answer. Here's the truth about investing after 40. Yes, someone who started at 22 has an advantage. Compound interest is real and starting early matters. I'm not going to lie to you about that. But here's what people get wrong. They think late start means no point. And that's just not how the math works. If you're 40 and you start investing $400 a month into a retirement account earning an average of 7% annually, which is a conservative estimate for a diversified index fund portfolio, by the time you're 65, you'd have around $325,000. That's starting from zero. At 40. With $400 a month. Is that the same as starting at 22? No. But is it nothing? Absolutely not. And if you can increase that amount as your income grows, even slightly, that number climbs fast. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. Today. This week. Now let's talk about the catch-up provision that most people don't know about. Once you hit 50, the IRS actually lets you contribute more to retirement accounts than younger people can. For a 401k, the standard contribution limit in 2024 is $23,000. But once you're 50, you can add an extra $7,500 on top of that. That's called a catch-up contribution. For an IRA, you get an extra $1,000 above the standard limit once you hit 50. The government literally built a fast lane for late starters. Most people never use it because they don't know it exists. If you're not at 50 yet, mark that birthday down. Because that's when you can start pouring more in. Let me walk you through 3 real scenarios. Not made-up characters. The kinds of people I hear from constantly. Scenario 1, the divorced mom at 43 ***. She was married for 14 years. She worked part-time while raising 2 kids. When the marriage ended, she got the house, but also the mortgage, the maintenance, and no real savings in her own name. She's 43. She has $200 in savings. She's working full-time now for the first time in years and making $52,000 annually. Where does she start? First thing, she stops trying to keep the house if it's eating her alive. That was one of the hardest conversations. The house felt like stability. But a $1,800 mortgage on a $52,000 salary with no cushion is a trap, not stability. She downsizes. Her monthly expenses drop by $600. She opens a Roth IRA and starts putting in $100 a month. Small. But it started. She picks up freelance work on weekends using skills from her previous career. Adds $400 to $600 a month. Within 18 months, she has a $2,000 emergency fund. Debt is being paid down. The Roth is growing. She's not rich. But she's moving. And moving changes everything. Scenario 2, the guy who got laid off at 41. He worked in corporate logistics for 16 years. Steady paycheck. Good benefits. He never thought much about the money because it always came. Then his company restructured. He was out. He had 3 months of expenses saved. That felt like a lot until it was gone in 10 weeks because he underestimated how long the job search would take. By month 5, he's draining his 401k, taking the tax penalties, just to survive. This is one of the most painful financial spirals you can be in. And it happens more than anyone talks about. Here's what changed it for him. He stopped chasing the same salary at the same level. He took a job, lower title, lower pay, just to stop the bleeding. His ego hated it. His bank account needed it. While working that job, he started rebuilding. No lifestyle. Just essentials and recovery. He also started learning new skills in the evenings. Not some random online course. Skills adjacent to what he already knew that were in demand. Within a year, he moved back up. Within 2 years, he was earning more than before the layoff. The lesson? The detour was not defeat. It was the path. Scenario 3, the couple with nothing but each other. Both 40. Both working. Combined income of $90,000. No savings. $34,000 in credit card debt. 2 car payments. Rent. How is that possible? Lifestyle creep. Bad habits that both enabled. Never talking about money honestly. Avoiding the conversation for years. When they finally sat down and looked at the real numbers together for the first time, they were shocked. Not at what they owed. At how long they'd been avoiding knowing. They started the debt avalanche. Highest interest rate first. Every extra dollar went there. They cut the subscriptions, all of them, $280 a month they didn't even notice. They cooked at home for 90 days straight. They sold things. A bike. Old electronics. Furniture they didn't need. In 14 months they paid off $18,000. It wasn't glamorous. It was uncomfortable. They argued about it sometimes. But they were in it together, and that made it survivable. The other $16,000 took another year. Then they started investing. They lost 2 years in terms of momentum. But they broke a pattern that would have followed them forever if they hadn't. Let's talk about the mindset shift that actually separates people who turn this around from people who don't. It's not intelligence. It's not income level. It's not having the perfect plan. It's this, the willingness to be uncomfortable on purpose. Most financial pain comes from avoiding short-term discomfort. You don't look at the account because looking feels bad. You don't have the money conversation with your partner because it might lead to a fight. You don't call the credit card company to negotiate because what if they say no? Every one of those avoidances costs you money. Real money. Every month. The people who turn it around develop one skill above everything else. They learn to do the uncomfortable thing anyway. They look at the number. They make the call. They have the conversation.